All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Wednesday, right? Doesn't feel like a Wednesday, but welcome back. Hope you guys all had yourselves a nice few quiet days here in the market. Yeah, and let's kind of get after it here a little bit this morning, right? Economic calendar wise, not the busiest or craziest of weeks, right? Going into the holidays. Not the most like busy Fed speak calendar, nothing along those lines. And today, right, no real exception to that. Existing home sales could be interesting. Consumer confidence could be interesting. So we'll keep an eye out for those at 10 a.m. But not anticipating today to be a crazy data session. And that's a relatively consistent narrative here across the board. We are creeping up towards the holidays to a certain extent. And so I would anticipate for us to get a little bit of quieter price action. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have no range, doesn't mean we're necessarily going to have no volume, but I think we're maybe seeing a little bit of compression here last couple of days. And so just going to want to be a little bit cautious to not get stuck in that compression while we wait for sort of that trend to show up. Now, oftentimes year end, you do get a little bit of year end selling. We've seen a very impressive run up here into year end. So we could see a little bit of that narrative kind of step in, right? A little bit of like complacency almost from bulls with the VIX sort of here, 12.58. I'm going to want to be just cautious, patient, right? Control the variables I can't control and just make sure that the market is singing and roaring back to life here before I'm forcing any decisions. Only a few trading days left in the year for me here on a personal level, right? I know it's a bit of a disjointed calendar here the last couple days, so apologies for that. But obviously not going to trade the week of Christmas. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are in that same boat. So, if we do know that backdrop, we would probably anticipate a day or two here still of some nice PA. But we don't want to force it if it isn't there, right? Or we don't want to force it or rush a trade if it isn't in play. And so that's really going to be the narrative across the board. Now, when I did that scan here this morning through our kind of a watch list, I didn't see a ton out there that was super interesting. There are a few, obviously, exceptions there that could be in play, but I'm not that interested in forcing something unless it's absolutely perfect. So we're going to map things out here in a second. We're going to go through it in a moment here. But yeah, it's kind of just the plan for the next couple of days, and we'll see how things come together. I know I've got a very busy one-on-one calendar with you guys today, tomorrow, all booked up. So if you guys want to catch up, excuse me, prior to the holidays, let me know. Do my best. For those of you, as a few of you who have tried to start their evaluations, there's just a few issues. I was just out of the country, right? So couldn't go to my bank and deal with it. So I'll try to take care of those things here next day or two, and hopefully that can be all sorted out before Christmas as well. But apologies for those delays. And if you are in that situation, I sent you an email with more specific details of exactly what's going on, but nothing too serious, nothing too crazy. But yeah, I just couldn't deal with it when I was out of the country. So good morning, Gary, GD, Topher, Jason, Marcus, Igor, Ruben, Steven, Brian, Craig, Salstein, Tanja, Greg, Nate, Vlad, and Ryan. Hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic AM. And yeah, let's kind of get after it here a little bit this morning. So Apple, right, or not exactly a very incredible bit of price action. Maybe it looks a little bit like a bull flag here. But we're opening up in the middle of that range. 1 for 3 this would be, so this wouldn't be super enthusiastic for me until I can get that bull flag breakout, which would be 197-ish. And just not a very big range yesterday, right? So yesterday, what is the total? $1.11 worth of range. So not exactly a very busy day. We can call that like a consolidation day, absolutely. But we need to see trending price action step back in for us to be convinced that this is actually in play. If I were to say, hey, Joe, if I were to say that there's trending price action, what would I need to see that, or what would that look like? I'll start making this interactive, right? What would we want to see on a breakout above 197 to call this trending PA? Yeah, Nate, you're spot on, right? I would say bigger than volume we saw on Monday, then that selling pressure would be incredible. And if we can get that pop up and over, right, that would be a lot of joy for us. Now, it's a 1 out of 3 here to the upside, so it's not the most enthusiastic of conditions. But if we do get that breakout up and over, it'd be a lot of joy. Did this change? What? Weird. Why did I feel like this changed the appearance of it, like the dotted lines and stuff? Yeah, strange. Okay, Tesla, right? Inside bar here. It's driving me insane. Okay. Figure that out later. Okay, so Tesla here, right? Inside bar. Hanging out at 259. So what would be the narrative that we want to see here on an inside bar? Yeah, prior day's high, and we're calling that consolidation volume, right? So what kind of volume standard do we need to see to say that we're no longer in consolidation? Yeah, highest fall of the week, right? Bigger than what we saw on Monday. So very similar narrative to what we have there on Apple, right? So we're just going to say a high vol breakout here. Okay, and then from 259, what would be our sort of reasonable targets? Right, so okay, we'll go 260-ish, right? And then we got 261, which is sort of those peaks up and over. And then Nate, I think you're pretty spot on from there. And then you go like 262, 264, 265. I think that 260, 261, we gotta respect. And then from there, we can get to have a little bit more runway. we have a downside narrative here, or do we have a dip buy scenario that we're interested in? Yeah, and it's inside bar, right? So inside bar tells us consolidation, not a trend. We want to see trending price action step back in before we look for dip buys. So today's watch list so far, right? Apple. Tesla, okay, Microsoft. Higher high, higher low, 2 out of 3 without volume. This remind you guys of anything a little bit? Yeah, kind of also reminds me a little bit of like this Tesla consolidation in this chunk here. Kind of feels like a little, that seemed like a little peak over kind of thing. And then we have 3 points of contact, right, on the trend line right there. So what would be our breakout target on Microsoft? Would it be something that we're interested in here today, or would we be waiting? Yeah, so I would say probably want to wait a little bit more than that, right? I'd like to see a breakout over this point of contact. So that would be 378-ish. If I can get that move, then I feel like I've got a little bit of conviction. But I don't like, it doesn't tell me strong price action here going into support, more into area of resistance that we want to see turn into support. So I'd like to see a pop up and over prior to getting too interested in this. So 377, 378, something along those lines. Okay, and that's all she wrote, right? So we need to see mega volume step in over, fine. Probably not going to get bigger than what you saw on Friday, right? But if we can get big pop, that would be a lot of joy. Okay, Meta. How do we feel about this? Well, that was a mistake. So, Meta, we interested in this? So for me, right, this is a 1 for 3. So I don't have a dip buy scenario, and I need to see a breakout over 354 to be interested, right? So it's a little bit too far away for me to have So yeah, like, I don't think there's really too much reason for us to go. Okay, Amazon. 2 out of 3 to the downside, right? But a weak one, higher high, higher low. I'm going to wait on this, right? We're going to see if this maybe can now catch its breath, consolidate, and then pop up and over. Okay, AMD. High volume, but weak looking candle, weak looking gap up. So this is a no. Okay, NVIDIA. What's the count here? Yeah, it's a 2 out of 3 with volume. So if we know we have a 2 out of 3 with volume, what are the 2 setups that we're looking for here this morning? Yeah, dip buy or a breakout setup. Fantastic, spot on. Breakout would be over right now 497, probably towards 500, and then 504. Yeah, resistance is 500, right? And then we go 503, 504, 505. It's a little bit sticky up there. And then we go 506. Then all-time highs, right? So then you can go $2 along the way to like 510. That's plenty of space. Hey, Brian, how's it going? All right, dip buys, right? Where would we be looking for dip buy scenarios here? What would be the area? Hey, Alfred, congratulations, man. Welcome, welcome. Alfred's share the news with everyone. Alfred's first payout got approved here this morning. So pretty awesome. Yeah, if we could start to defend kind of like Monday's lows, right, towards sort of like Tuesday's lows or even Monday's lows, that would be incredible. So we'll draw it kind of like that green box thing that we always do, right? Find support inside the green box. We'll call to be give or take this zone. So high vol breakout. Incredible work, Alfred. Glad to hear you doubled, man. Well done. Okay. So NVIDIA definitely worth watching here today. Okay, Lily, no. Visa is a 2 out of 3, but I don't like this as a bit of trending price action because we're just kind of in this rising wedge here, middle of this wedge. I don't feel as convinced that we've had like a trend breakout in the last, say, week or so, right? So it feels a little bit more indecisive compared to an NVIDIA potentially. I'm going to be a little bit more patient on this. Man, that's incredible, Alfred. I'm stoked to hear that, man. Debt free and wedding paid off is a incredible head start, man. Yeah, coin is definitely on the list there. GD, we'll take a look at that in a sec. So Visa, no go here. Okay, MasterCard has a chance to go 2 out of 3 to the upside if we can get that breakout. But let's see if we can get that 428 pop. I think that's still going to be the move here. We'll call that a higher high. Yeah, we'll get to coin in a sec, guys. Just one step at a time here. Okay, Exom, 2 out of 3 here. We'll fake out lower potentially, breaking through that trend line. Let's keep an eye on this 104.30-ish area. Would have to be the breakouts, the next point of contact essentially on that trend line. Might be a little bit of a ways away. But I'm going to watch this for the next day or two to see how it behaves. Okay, Oracle, 1 for 3, middle of the range, higher high on decreasing volume, huge gap to possibly fill. But not enough there. Short term on the pass. Okay, Merrick still needs to break out up and over. Netflix, 1 for 3 again. Inside that gap, though. So if you get that breakout over 496, right, you could get that little cheap price action fill type thing. All right, so 1 for 3 here, good old 1 for 3, and we're looking for just a mega fill or mega vol gap fill. Okay, Airbnb, type bit of consolidation here. But probably if I'm going to get a breakout, like to see a breakout up and over, right? It's like 149-ish. And then you got space 150, yada, yada, yada. But this doesn't look super appealing to me. Spotify. No, I don't see anything obvious. Inside bar, right? Not too interesting of a spot. Disney. Maybe starting to see signs of a bit of a bull flag here. Need to get up and over that spot. Again, higher high, lower low, decreasing volumes. It's a little bit of a mixed bag here. Opening up in the middle of a relatively big bar. I think we're going to be a little bit stuck here this morning. I'm going to be a tad patient. Okay, Uber continuing to consolidate here. Very similar narrative we're seeing to something like that, even Airbnb. So I'd like to see a resolution here. Don't feel like it's in play. Okay, Coinbase, right? 3 for 3. So what's our biggest concern with Coinbase generally? Yeah, spread, spot on. Just want to make sure that we're not screwing ourselves over, right, by chasing something where we can't get a reliable execution. Now, I know there's a few comments over the last week or so about the spread. Make a video about that at some point here over the next, probably over the holidays. It's going to be very busy next few days, but talk about that a little bit as it comes to play here. But that's our biggest concern always with this name. So we're still looking for that ascending wedge continuation. we'll call that a normal body bullish plus increasing outlier vol, right? Looking good. Plus gap up. So 3 for 3 here to the upside. So we know we've got strong trending price action, but we need to see a continuation narrative, right? So high vol breakout here over 164. Or we're looking for like support inside yesterday's range, right? Okay, and then above 164, right? It's got to go a little bit to our left here to map this thing out. We go 166, 170, 175. So I reckon I can go buck along the way towards 175. I think it makes a little bit of sense. Fuck. Okay. So looks pretty decent. Would we have a bull or sorry, a bear case scenario here, or is it bull case or bust? Yeah, just bull case or bust here pretty much, right? So nothing else that we're going to be interested in doing. I'm not going to force anything or anything along those lines. Any other names that you guys are looking at here? Anything else that you guys want to go over? Yeah, one sec. All right, let's take a look at Goog here. Do quick power through these other ones. Quick. We'll do Google instead. Better name to trade. So what would be the count here? Let's start there. GD, give me the so 1 for 3. 1 for 3 to the downside though, right? With a mega gap up. Maybe you got trend line resistance here as well. So what would you need to see to call it strong bulls? Yeah, but what else? Like, are you convinced that you have trending price action here yet? So if you aren't convinced you have trending price action, what would it take to be convinced? And if you're consistently seeing PA maybe get stuck at this trend line, what would you like to see? And then what are the probabilities of a big gap sustaining or going in your direction? Do you have any evidence of the bear case being successful though recently, Nate? Yeah, I would say that this move seems like it's happening here in the pre-market, right? Where you've got a lot of evidence where you've seen bears kind of step in and reject this area before, but we don't really have a very logical bear case. So you want to now see if this trend line can act as an area of support before you're willing to call this trending price action. Don't like the consistently higher highs here, right, on decreasing volume and then a big gap up. That could tell you just a little bit of a sign of exhaustion. But it doesn't feel like you have that support or that narrative in play to really bounce off of this. So I'd be a little bit careful here. I'd be a little bit patient waiting for this to set up, and probably would not be one. Like this gap up is an outlier, right, compared to everything else. So I'm not interested in chasing that. That feels like the move could be done here outside of whatever our usual trading hours. Okay, what was the other suggestion there? EXAS. Fucks. Spend 2 days on a laptop and you lose your muscle memory. How to use a normal PC computer. All right. Definitely gotten out of its consolidation here. A bit of an ascending wedge breakout, if you want to call it that. No gap to fill. That's been filled already. Big volume. And you have space towards that $80 mark, but I don't know if I like the look of this chart that much. Like it's kind of like a slouched head and shoulders. You know what I mean? Where like this is one shoulder, this is another shoulder, and then kind of like your neckline or your whatever, your head. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like there's much there. Or I don't see the trend here, I should say. I get the 3 for 3, I get that breakout, but that basing, I don't know, just don't see it. Any other questions here, guys? Minute or so to market open. Minute or so to market open. I'm just going to make myself a quick cup of coffee. So we'll be back at the desk here in a sec. But we'll do a quick little rundown here in a moment. Give me a minute here, guys. Hey Jay, how's it going? All right, so it's market open, guys. Not the busiest of watch lists here today, right? Not the busiest of watch lists. So we'll see really where that momentum shows up. God, I can't stand the way this looks. So we'll see if this thing can give us some nice follow through here. We get some nice momentum this morning. All right. Hey Judson, how you doing? Good to hear, man. Good to hear. There's Nvidia breaking out. Points close. Oh, gapped up over. Interesting. Okay. Little bit of weakness here to start the morning, right? We're not seeing a ton of bullish momentum. Fine, right? So nice to see a little bit of December selling. Still consolidation on many of our names. We want to be a little bit patient. We do not need to rush this yet. Yeah, it generally is right at the open, right, Nate? Right? We generally see it act as like 40 cents at the open, and then, you know, 15, 20 minutes in, it tends to slow down, right, and get towards the 20-cent range. But even right now in interactive brokers, I'm seeing a spread of about 35 cents. So maybe even more at times. I'm seeing even close to like $1 at some moments. So it's not doing differently than otherwise, right? I'm seeing a 40-cent spread right now, 45-cent spread, 46-cent spread right now on Coinbase on interactive brokers. So that's matching pretty consistently. Will I be interested in trading a 45-cent spread? Absolutely not, right? How can I be convinced that I can actually get the pricing I want, right? If I have to enter a trade and I'm $470 down by the time I'm entering, or okay, it's just doing the math easy, lazily for 1,000 shares, that's not interesting to me, right? I don't want to spend time with that kind of stress. So no, thank you. Right, Apple, we're not seeing the cooperation we'd like to see here yet. We wait. Nvidia, maybe. It's not great volume, but it's increasing and it's holding. So technically. I'm going to change the volume limits here on Nvidia again. No. Okay, so that's not bad. Essentially hit 500. So I'd say our next target here is like 503. Yeah, I'm not gonna change my plan here now midday though, Nate, right? That's not how I roll. I'm not gonna chase that big gap up. That's not for me. So NVIDIA, if I can get a pullback here into 496.70, that gets interesting. Yeah, again, though, I'd want to see a pop over yesterday's high. I don't care about today's. Okay, so what would be the position sizing here on something like this NVIDIA, right? If we have a $2 stop loss, what would be the position sizing? Yeah, half size. All right, so generally I don't like entering half size trades. It's not worth my time. I'm going to wait a little bit, right? So if I can get a deeper pullback. So if you have a, we'll say, $250,000 account, what would be your sizing here? Go half size, but how many shares would that be? Yeah. And if you have a $100,000 account, how many shares would that be? What would be your max position size then? $500. Yeah, exactly. All right. So if you're trading a bigger account, oftentimes you have less work to do on a risk management perspective to a certain extent, because the platform is basically doing that risk management for you, right? So if you're trading a big account, or sorry, a smaller account, don't over leverage yourself on a position size, right? That's not worth it. Right? So you have to be thinking about those details, guys, right? We should always know how much we expect to lose prior to entering a trade. And we shouldn't be taking on more risk just because someone else has a bigger position size than you or a bigger account than you, right? Well, I'm pretty consistent, Igor, in wanting to get about $1 per share, right? And I'd like to see a pullback deeper than my 461.70 touch there. But anywhere that hits that green line, right, that's my 3-to-1 risk reward. So ultimately, once it hits that zone, that's your decision of when you want to enter or how deep of a pullback you want to see. Right? So, you know, we hit that appropriate zone. We hit everything. So that's an answer you should have for yourself. What I really want to stress here, guys, right, is you shouldn't be waiting for me to say that I'm in and then making your decision to enter a trade. Right? You need to have that independent thought so that you don't have that anxiety, right? If you're always waiting for me to say that I'm in or that I'm doing something or to know the exact details of the exact penny, then you're always going to be behind, right? My technique is consistent the same way around every single time so that you can replicate it and make up your own mind of what you want to do. All right, so there should be very little ambiguity about what my technique is, but you need to make that own decision over what the perfect moment is for yourself individually, right? So if you jump in on that touch, your technique is on that exact touch, awesome, right? You're up almost $3 a share here. But if you're waiting for me to say that I'm in, well, you're always gonna be waiting, right? So I need you guys to be independent thinkers in that context. You can't just be waiting for me to say I'm in, right? Make up your own decision. That's how you're gonna feel better about your own trading. But if you're waiting to say that for me to say that I'm in, or that I'm doing something, or that I'm doing XYZ, we're always gonna have anxiety because you're not trading your plan, right? You're trading my plan. And that's, yes, successful to a certain extent. But if you're always behind, then you're going to get worse entry prices than me, right? You're going to make less money than me because you're going to scale out at a more panicked price, right? And you're not going to be basically controlling the variables you can't control. So that's why it's really important, right? That you make up your own plan, or you have your own idea of what a good enough pullback looks like, and that you have those specific answered, right? I know exactly what I'm looking to do every single time. I'm looking to get $1 per share, or that 3-to-1 risk reward. That never really changes. And so if I know it never really changes, or I know what I'm doing every single time, then I can always answer that question, right? I always know what that how much is. Right? So we often talk about controlling the variables we can control. That's exactly what that is, right? So to be very clear, my technique is the same every single trade for that exact reason, so that you guys always know what I'm doing. But if you really want to be successful here, you have to take it and make it your own. Okay, so maybe Apple on this 15 could be in play here. And what would be our target? How would we determine our entry zone here, Igor? What would you do? So to make your own plan here, what would you do? Be specific, right? What's the target? Be specific. If you're picking between 198 and 199, that's a very big difference, right? So be specific. We've broken through 197. So if we've broken through 197, which is this white line, what's the next number? The next number is 198, right? We haven't broken through 198, so let's get there, right? That's line 1. Where would be your stop loss location? Right? There's no point skipping numbers here. If we're going to do our prep, no, stop loss location needs to be low of our confirmation candle, right? Stop loss is always low of the confirmation candle. Right? So we call this boxing in a trade. So if we know our profit target and we know our stop loss, now we can draw the fibs from profit target to stop loss. And we know that our ideal entry here is about 197.01. That's what, 35 cents away, right? From our ideal stop loss. So I know that in that situation, I can go full position sizing because my stop loss is less than $1. So I'm looking for a pullback into 197. And if I get it, I'm happy to trade. Yeah, that's why it's what we, all right, I think I mentioned that at the very beginning, right? Where I said maybe they changed their contract specifications again on NVIDIA. So we'll keep an eye on that. right? So that's why when we broke through and we touched that 500, now our next target here is this 503 on NVIDIA, right? Our stop loss is low of that confirmation candle. And again, you just from profit target to stop loss, then you know, okay, if I get a pullback into 496.65, I've got a risk reward zone that justifies me taking this trade. Then do I have another question to ask myself? Okay, do I have less than $1 per share stop loss? No. Okay, what can I do to get less than $1 per share stop loss? I wait till it's literally $1 away from my stop loss. That's it. So I'm just trying to be very consistent in my technique, right? So that there isn't any confusion. But we have to make sure that we're boxing in and mapping out the trade correctly. Otherwise, you're just always going to have that anxiety. So no Apple here, right? Apple makes a higher high prior to breaking out, so that's no interest. So NVIDIA's still in play, but we need to see a deep pullback, right? Otherwise, it's not interesting. Right, Igor? So how I'm getting to my entry price should never be a surprise, right? It should never be a mystery. And then from there, you can just apply your own personality quirks to it, right? But we box in our trades the same way every single time. We get to our entry price the same way every single time. So I draw my fib tool from my profit target towards my stop loss, not from my stop loss towards my profit target. Right? So if I did stop loss to profit target, it would be the other way around. So you identify your stop loss, right? Low of your confirmation candle. You identify your profit target, whatever that is, and then you draw it out from there. Well, if it was a short trade, right, you would be, you'd still be mapping it out from your profit target to your stop loss, right? Because your profit target would be, we'll say here, right? 491, stop loss 500, we'll say. And then you go from profit target to stop loss. So it's always the same thing, right? It's always from profit target to stop loss. Always. And some of these names are holding up pretty well, but I need to make sure it's just justifiable to trade. surprising. The earnings weren't that impressive. Okay, there goes Tesla. This could be worth watching. Need to see big volume here, though, right? So we need to see biggest volume standard of the week so far. Well, we didn't get that on the 5, right? Not there. We didn't get that on the 10 min here, right? Not there. We didn't get that on the 15. So maybe we can get this on the 30. But we're not going to get that volume standard that we're looking for here yet on the 5 or 10 or 15 min time frames. Right? Just not satisfying our volume criteria here yet. So we're not going to waste our time looking at it until it does. Right? If we're not getting bigger volume than what we saw yesterday or a more impressive volume pace than what we saw yesterday, then I have very few reasons to want to aggressively chase after that. Right? It's not giving me the narrative that I'm looking for. Let's take a look at Coinbase here. Spread 27 cents, so a little bit better, 30 cents. Yeah, we're just talking about it right now, D-Wayne, right? Main concern here still is spreads maybe just a little bit wacky, right? We're at 168, so we're targeting 169. Yeah, we talked about Google a little bit pre-market, right? Good for it that it went, but on this 1 for 3, I need to see a stronger indication of trending price action before I was willing to step in. Volume for sure. But I needed more information before I was willing to trade this. So maybe tomorrow now this will become tradable. But for myself here today, no interest. Doesn't mean it's not tradable, but it just wasn't a system play for me, right? So it didn't suit my system here today, so I'm just not going to bother. It doesn't mean it's not a move that can't go, right? Or that it was Quadre or someone else's system wouldn't have been able to take advantage of it. Yeah, coin you need to pull back into like 163.73. Spreads hanging out 29 cents. So you'd want to go half size here, right? To basically account for that extra spread. So do I want a $2 stop loss here? Probably not, right? If I have a $2 stop loss, am I really anticipating enough reward there? I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I would have no issues with Apple here on the longer time frames. The reason why we didn't get the 15, right, is it made just a higher high prior to pulling back to the entry zone. So if you just wait for a 30-min confirmation, yeah, no problems. Logistically, right, not too much has changed. Okay, so still gonna watch this NVIDIA here, right? Still gonna watch this NVIDIA. And if it doesn't pull back enough, no worries, right? Don't care. Be honest, right? It's either it does or it doesn't. There should be no emotional attachment to this position or to making this decision, right? It's binary. Either it does exactly what we expect it to do and it follows our rules exactly, or we don't trade it. Right? So it's got nothing to do with emotion. I don't want you guys to feel the lure, right, of making money on this. Making money on this play is not guaranteed. We can't behave like it is. We need to behave as if we're following our rules in our system. Because if we follow our rules in our system, then making money happens, right? Just happens as a consequence of following our technique. But when we bounce around, we're willing to compromise, and we rush decisions, and we jump into things, and we do dumb shit, then we don't actually end up playing our technique, right? We're ultimately just gambling. We're trading something that we don't have an edge on. So we can't succumb to that, right? Not worth it. Guys, I'm going to miss plenty of trades over the course of my career, right? I'm going to make plenty of mistakes. I'm going to catch plenty of moves or miss plenty of moves, right, that I wish I could have caught. That's fine. I can't let that bog me down, right? I can't allow the feeling of breaking my rules to have gotten the result I wanted to trick me into breaking them, like my rules. I can't hold it against myself when I follow my plan, right? That's what I'm trying to judge my trading off of. Not over the amount of action I get, not over the amount of wins I get, none of that kind of stuff. Did I follow my process? Did I follow my plan? Did I do exactly the things that I said I was going to do? Because if I do, then over the course of a year, over the course of 10 trades, 1,000 trades, 100,000 trades, I do very, very successfully. Now, I'm probably never going to get 100,000 trades in my career. I'd be surprised if I hit that number at this pace. But we can't allow the pressure of a one-off decision, right, to make us skew our long-term sample size. So, yeah, maybe I won't get a trade here now this week. Maybe I won't get a trade until I'm back trading again January 3rd. Yeah, maybe. But I don't go into the session with the plan of trading, right? I go into each session with the plan of following my plan. That's my objective. How well did I follow what I said I was going to do so that I can learn from what I did? So there are no compromises. There's no leeway to skip steps. There's no, for myself personally, right? There's no desire to add new variables intraday to do any of these things. Yeah, Jason, the schedule is posted right in the Discord. But yeah, stream is active rest of the week. I just can't trick myself, right, guys, into breaking what I want to do. Yeah, maybe Google ran huge. Maybe Oracle could have been the play. Maybe Exxon was the move. Whatever, fine. There's always going to be a ticker that runs every single day. Fine, right? No worries. I can't expect myself to catch all those moves. That's unrealistic. I always say I'm trying to solve for 70%, right? Solving for 70% of the time, I can catch the move that I'm looking for. 70% of the time, when I catch the move that I'm looking for, I get a win. 70% of the time, I'm able to scale out and hit 2R. Like, that's really what I'm trying to to get to, right? And so the more that I can focus on controlling those variables, then the easier it is for me to follow my plan on a day-to-day basis. And I don't feel the lure or the rush or the chase of making a decision, because I can answer all those variables, right? So if you're not, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you know your technique, you know your price, you know your position sizing, you know your scale out plan, you know why you're entering, when you're entering, what makes you wrong, what makes you correct, then you remove that pressure on yourself to make a rush decision, because you don't feel rushed when you know those variables, right? And so if you feel like you're rushing a decision, you feel like you have incomplete information, then you need to stop, slow yourself down, and ask, what am I missing? Or what do I want this experience to feel better in my decisions? That's a variable you can control, right? And it becomes easier the more repetitive you are in your technique. Right? And we do the same thing, or I do the same thing every single time. All my trades, right? The point of me doing that repetition is that makes it easy for me to just follow what I want to do, right? If I constantly reward myself or have history rewarding myself for following my plan, then it becomes easier to follow my plan, right? But if I can remember rewarding an impulsive decision, then it's always going to be harder to not take an impulsive decision, right? Because back in my mind, I can remember the reward associated with that impulse. So you need to reprogram yourself to a certain extent to remember the reward of following your technique and the reward of following your plan. That's all I'm trying to do, right? That's why I'm so methodical, so consistent, so deliberate. Right? Is I'm just trying to make it easy for myself to be successful. And have we missed out on anything on this NVIDIA trade? Because we didn't take that initial 496.70 entry or whatever it was. Don't think so, right? Like we didn't, not like this has really led to a trend day here. So that's why it's so important, right? That's why it's so valuable to just repeat your processes over and over and over and over again. That's kind of what we expect going into the holidays, though, right? Hanukkah on Friday, yeah, Christmas holiday coming up. This is how you expect price action to generally behave. You find a few outliers like this Google, right? Absolutely an outlier here today. Maybe it'll give us that continuation here next little bit. But the day-to-day of trading, guys, is boring. Right? It's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of doing nothing. And so I don't anticipate really changing too much for me, right? I don't trade for the thrill. I think that's a bad decision. I can't reward that feeling. Met a big pop here. Am I seeing bigger vol than what I saw? Right, if yesterday was decreasing volume standard, and today we're half of the volume that we saw at yesterday's open, can I argue that I have an increasing or building momentum? All right, the answer is no. Okay, Coinbase spreads now 15 to 20 cents, right? That's a little bit more reasonable, right? So makes sense. So just to go over those spreads a little bit, guys, right? Let's say we're trading Meta. Let's go Apple, for example. Okay, Apple's easy example for us. Let's say we're trading Apple. Okay, it's $200 a share at the moment. Okay, it's $197.50. We're just gonna round it up to $200 a share, and it's a 9-cent spread or 10-cent spread. So if I wanted to be confident that I'm actually getting the execution price I wanted, I would add that to my stop loss, right? So if I wanted to get stopped out at 497, right, get a fill at that price, then I would set my stop loss. I'm mixing up numbers here. If I were to say wanting to get stopped out here, we'll say at 196.63 and the spread is 9 cents, then I would put my stop loss 9 cents lower than what it is now. So that would be 196.55, right? And then, okay, I'm accounting for the spread. So if I get a little tick there, you know, I'll get filled at that price and I'll survive. But there's going to be plenty of trades, right? So basically what you want to do is just want to add plus to the spread, right? When you're scaling out, minus the spread when you're setting your stop loss. So if you want to get filled at 198, you close your position at 198.09, right? Then you get a fill at 198 if you're using a market order. Stop losses are market orders, right? So that's why you deal with the spread and you get some kind of wiki fills. But you have to remember, right? There's gonna be plenty of opportunities or plenty of times in our trading careers where something pulls back, touches your stop loss, and then runs, right? Or gets close to your stop loss, stops you out, and then runs. So I don't want you guys to get too caught up in that, right? It's just the way markets are going to behave here sometimes. It's the way things are going to go occasionally. And so I don't want you to feel bad when that happens, because it's just an inevitability of how price action behaves here every now and then for retail. Don't get too caught up in that or overreact or try to oversolve, right, on a single trade, because we're going to have plenty of those experiences where we do get stopped out and then it runs. And yeah, there's gonna be times with the funded accounts where the spread fucks you over and it costs you a few extra dollars, but you just manage it and you are adding that plus 10 or minus 10, whatever the plus spread is or minus the spread is, and account that for your position sizing, then you're gonna be fine, right? So it's like 8 cents or 10 cents, not enough to determine if you're gonna be successful or not. It shouldn't be the difference between being profitable or not. And it's a pretty good deal considering the liquidity that you get for dealing with that spread. Well, what's the spread on NVIDIA? You understand how it works, right? Do you know if you saw it cross fully or if it just went on the bid? Right, so right now you have a 20-cent spread, right? So if you wanted to see a 496.64 fill, you would have need to have seen a 496.44 bid, right? Which I don't think we saw. Right, the closest we got was 496.51. Oh, the spread didn't cross your entry price, right? Okay, so Coinbase might be able to reset up for us here. You got 468, break, close, and hold. Right, this can keep giving me decent vol here. Then we'd be targeting 460, or sorry, 160. I keep saying wrong numbers here. And then stop loss here would be 167.22. You map this out now. We're going to be looking for an entry around 167.69. And then your stop loss, right, would be 20 cents less than the stop loss there, right? So if you stop loss about 167. So if your stop loss, we'll say, is 167, make this easy. You're looking for an entry about 167.46. At which point you're risking about what, 50 cents a share? No problem. Again, just watching the spread on Coinbase a little bit. I don't want to see it in the 30s. If it misbehaves, it misbehaves. I'm not going to be interested. Don't care. Yeah, good, G-Crone. How you doing? Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Okay, that's a higher high, right? So no interest. What do? Right? Pass on the burden of confirmation to the 10-min time frame. See if this thing can reset back up. All right, so another minute left on this candle. Let's keep watching here. Okay, there's increasing volume. So we want a strong looking candle shape here, preferably a close over what, right? What do we need to see to call it confirmation? Close over what level? Yeah, want to see it break, close, and hold above 168 on increasing outlier volume. We did get that, right? Bigger than any bearish volume we've seen so far here today. So continues to be in play. Need to see the appropriate pullback here, right? Again, 167.40-ish, 167.45-ish, sorry. So resetting it back up, right? Reordering or re-putting in my order. And let's see, right? Watch the spread, make sure it doesn't do anything funky. Okay, so watching here closely, right? Watching closely. Getting closer, right? Getting much closer. Let's see. So what number, guys, on the bid or the ask, which number needs to hit 167.46 to get a fill? Which side, the bid or the ask? If we want to get a fill at 167.46, yeah, we know it's a buy, right? But when you're looking at the price, how can you tell, right? Yeah, right? So if the bid hits 167.46, would you expect to get a fill? Or how far away from a fill would you be? Okay, there's a higher high, so no entry. Yeah, so we have to make sure, guys, right, that we're playing within the fundamentals or the basics of the market, right? Yeah, price can hit a 167.46, but if it doesn't hit it on the ask, well, you're not going to get a fill. So when we're looking at entries, when we're talking about missed entries, when we're talking about XYZ, be specific and make sure that you're tracking the correct details. Well, Andy, right? You're not setting an order. I mean, unless you're setting your order to be the mid price specifically, right? Say you're setting an order to be right now on Coinbase, we'll say, what's the spread? It's 20 cents. So we'll say you're setting a mid price order of like 168.30. Then you'd get filled at 168.30. But if you're sending a limit order, right, you're setting it at a specific price. So you're waiting for it to hit that price specifically on the bid. Sorry, on the ask, sorry. Right, so you need to see it hit that. It's not when it's the mid price, it's when it hits that on the ask. I don't know if I got the mega ball that I kind of was craving here on Netflix. Yeah, it has, yeah. But for me, guys, like a 1 for 3 with a mega gap up there is never going to be a trade. Not a play for me, right? No matter what, it's fine. But a lack of trend and then a big explosion through resistance. I don't trade outliers, right? I wait for the trend to be established and then ride the wave. My objective is generally to try to catch, not to try to catch the top or the bottom of the wave, right? Is try to catch the middle. Yeah, shame would have been nice to catch a big move there, but that's pretty much the only name that's given us like a tradable range. And even then, say we even played like a 140 breakout here, probably targeting then 141. We'll say. I don't think we would have ever gotten an entry on this. Right, so is what it is. So it'll be what your current account balance is, Alfred. All right, so if you have an open position that exceeds your max trailing drawdown, then you will be, that position will be closed for you. You'll be capped at that point. There's a little bit of like a sweet spot, right? When you withdraw your cash to make sure that you're leaving yourself a little bit of some leeway, right? No, Nate, those trades did not give us confirmation on the longer time frame, so I do not have any open positions on those. Right? Apple didn't give me 30-minute confirmation that I was looking for. And neither did Nvidia. So no open active positions. right? The only time, like just if I say I have an open active position, then in the Discord, I will mention what price I'm looking at for an entry. So yeah, if you don't see that, then there's no open active. I mean, I guess potentially, I don't know if I would go that far because you're not doing it on a rejection on volume. You haven't really broken outside of that opening candles range. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd be as aggressive there. You could just call this consolidation right on the daily. I think it's more, yeah, indecisive versus a trending rejection. Okay, so what just happened there on Coinbase? NVIDIA is not back in place. We need to see a really impressive volume standard, but you didn't get that. So you don't have 30-min confirmation. You don't have whatever. So it's not in play anymore, right? So if we fail confirmation on the 5-min, then you pass it on to the 10. Failed it on the 10, so you pass it on to the 15, right? Couldn't get that pullback on the 15, so you pass it on to the 30. And on the 30, it no longer looks like confirmation, right? This looks like a pretty shitty candle, so we're not seeing that narrative continue onward, right? So this is a reason to move along, not to trade this any longer. So, right, Coinbase made a higher high through 169. What would be the potential now target if this thing can break, close, and hold above 169 on increasing outlier volume? What would be the move, right? Are we willing to call this confirmation? Is that confirmation? And then why or why not? Any thoughts? So let's go back to the strategy documents, right? So if we go to there we go. So if we go to the 3 for 3, right? What's the confirmation standard that we're looking for? Occurs on the first 5, 10, 15, or 30 min candle that closes as a full body bullish, second most bullish, or normal body bullish, and holds the horizontal resistance on increasing outlier volume. Right? Exactly written there. Did we satisfy those criteria on that 5 min candle? Right? So did it meet our standard? No, right? So we can't skip that extra step. We set it outlier volume for a reason. Right? It's not outlier volume. Outlier would be greater than average. Well, that's not greater than average. So what do? Right? We pass on the burden of confirmation to a longer time frame and now see if we can get that standard to occur on the 10 min. Right? So it's binary. It shouldn't be anything to do with opinions. It shouldn't be I feel. It shouldn't be I'd say. It is or it isn't, right? And those criteria, guys, I spent fucking 4 days putting together this document for you guys with such specific information so that we can have those answers, right? So it's your responsibility to study that material because it's what we do every single time. I don't apply exceptions outside of that document, right? So if you want to know what to do, there's your cheat code. There's your flow chart. There's whatever you need. So what do we need to see occur here on this candle? Right? We have a setup. Currently, our active setup is a breakout through 169. What would be confirmation? Yeah, and on what standard? Yeah, break, close, and hold on increasing outlier volume. And it's the same process every single time, right? And if we do the same process every single time, then it becomes muscle memory, becomes easy, becomes repeatable, right? Becomes a technique that we can rely on. But if like one trade we apply one standard, another trade we apply another standard, the next trade we do Z, the next trade we do Y, all you end up doing is just confusing yourself of what you're supposed to do it when and where, right? And when you end up ultimately feeling confused, well, then you end up making a mistake because you rush a decision, you rush a trade, you do whatever. So are we happy to call this trade confirmation or that candle confirmation? Or do we pass on now the burden to a different time frame? Pass on the burden, exactly, right? Because it failed to close and hold that 169 level. That's not strength, right? We pass this on to the 15 min. See if they can now close increasing. It's already outlier, but we need to see increasing. And we need to see it hold 169. And it's the same thing every single time, right? And then if I get that confirmation, where would be my stop loss? Yeah, bottom of the confirmation, right? It'd be approximately 167.75. So have we missed out on something here? No, right? We're probably saving ourselves from getting stopped out, right? Just because our process is very consistent. We know exactly what we're looking for. It failed those criteria. So it became very easy to avoid this play and avoid getting stopped out, right? So we just avoided an obvious mistake. And if we can just avoid our obvious mistakes and we avoid enough of them, then yeah, we're going to do pretty well for ourselves over the course of our careers. But if we're just going to keep making the same obvious repeatable mistakes over dumb variables we can't control, then what do you expect, right? Like that's just self-sabotage. So not interested in that. Right? This volume sticks out like a sore thumb. Absolutely. That mega vol, close. Got to be bigger than what we saw last couple days. So anything bigger than Monday, what we need to see here. Darn close. That's there, I think, right? So now we get that 500 breakout. Where's the next target, right? It's 502. So about there. Stop loss, low of your confirmation candle, right? About 499. And then map out from profit target to stop loss. Okay, now you want to check the spread, right? Spread's about 40 cents. It's fine on a $500 stock, right? That's not a big deal. You move that pretty quickly. So what would that mean, right? Your stop loss now is 498.60-ish, right? And so you'd want to get an entry around 499.40. And check your specifications tab, right? You get a max order size per entry of 1,000. Plenty of exposure here. Okay, watch closely. We're at 60 cents now, so be a little bit careful. 30. All right, this is the entry here, guys. And we're going to have a stop loss 80 cents lower. Ooh, maybe not. Still waiting. No entry here yet, guys. No entry here. I know it's a bit dirty. So I am in Netflix here, guys. Average price $498.37. 1,000 shares. Stop loss is at 497. You can get bailed out here a little bit. So far, so good, I would say. Just crossing over my spread here now, so we can turn this into the green, get a little bit of further follow through past 499. That's gonna be the first scale out. Right, and this trade just flushed through, gave me an overreaction flush before I could set up my original entry, right? So instead of market ordering in, just wait, treat it like a volatility zone, and still get your entry price. What do you mean by duplicate orders, T-Crone? I don't know if you can like copy paste it. I don't know if that's what you mean. Like instead of just having to do, yeah, so you want to set up like one pending order and fire out 5 at once with one click. Is that kind of what you mean? Yeah, I don't think that would exist, because why would they, or at least not by default. There might be some order management tool that allows you to do that, but if that tool was active, it would make no sense then for them to restrict the positions if you could just work around it that easily. Yeah, but dude, this isn't think or swim, right? Like this platform is designed to be a risk management system for the company, right? Got to look at it from their perspective, not yours. I think I might stop myself out here, guys. Go in. So probably the one weird thing about this Netflix breakout was that volume happened at a weird time. The only thing that I would complain about now, if I'm looking back at this in hindsight, that volume bar kind of showed up a little bit unexpected. Not really moving. Yeah, at least it's nice. Like if you're gonna get knocked out, nice to get knocked out early so you don't develop an emotional attachment. I feel like the longer I'm in a trade, usually, the more attached I get. But I think the word slimy's like the volume was weird when it came in. Like the time that it came in and the ferocity or the intensity of it was a bit strange. Where it's almost like, I mean, now, right, a little bit feels like exhaustion volume. Damn, T-Crown. Yeah, there we go. I got stopped out. I mean, on the 10, right, it doesn't look like it wants to bounce off the 5-min or off the BB line. I would say that's maybe aggressive, right? $1,300 loss, a little bit more than that. Well, that's not my bad. What are you talking about? Just shows, right, how different time frames can tell different stories. Sounds good, Marcus. We'll see you tomorrow, right? So why falling in love with one story on one time frame, right, isn't good. So if we get too caught up, yeah, I was looking on the 5 too, right? But if we get too caught up on the 5, we try to talk ourselves into a narrative and then we ignore the bigger picture, kind of screw ourselves over. Oh, that was a disappointing trade back. Any questions here, guys? Anything you guys want to go over? Otherwise, I'm going to go take the dog for a quick walk prior to our one-on-ones here this afternoon. Any questions here, guys? Any questions? Sounds good, Jason. I'm sure we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, sounds good. Yeah, playing has Wi-Fi, man. Watch a movie instead. You ain't gonna miss much. All right, guys. Final call for questions. Final call for questions. My pleasure, guys. Bit of a weird one today. Didn't quite feel like I found my routine this morning, so sorry for that. Found my flow. But yeah, final call for questions here, guys. Final call. All right, everyone. Well, if no further questions, then I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. Looking forward to catching up with everyone here in our 101s later this afternoon. If you want to catch up before the holidays, please let me know. Send me a message. If you don't have something scheduled, then we'll chat then. But yeah, until then, hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of the afternoon. And looking forward to catching up with you all soon. Peace.